What's up, guys? C1213 here. Sorry I haven't done a video. Been busy with a lot of stuff here on my Continental here. But anyway, that's not what today's video is going to be on. Today's video is actually going to be on this little gem right here, if I can get to it. This little guy. So, this here is the Pulsar 1200 watt generator. Now, 1200 watt, of course, is the peak or surge wattage, and the running constant watts it can provide max is about 900 watts. So that's still pretty good, because if you go to Harbor Freight and you pick one of these equivalent size in terms of dimensions generator up, you're going to be looking at right around 700 watts running, I think. And so that's a lot less in terms of power for the same package. And also, of course, the peak watts are much less as well. And generally, this one just seems much better built. For example, when you take off the air cleaner here, which I will do. So after you remove those 4 Phillips screws, this cover right here just comes off. And you'll see that actually on this one, unlike on the Harbor Freight, your foam filter here is firmly in place, which means it's properly sized and it seals on the top and bottom end, and air really can only travel through the filter itself, which is always good. And as you can see, your choke here, pretty simple stuff. Now, this right here is already a great thing, and that's a great sign of quality, okay? Because if even the little things are decent, that's important. Because on the Harbor Freight, this thing just usually, anyway, is sized wrong, and it just slops around here, which means, of course, there's a huge air gap on the top. And basically what it does is it allows air to circumvent the filter, and then you dust your engine, and that's never any good. So anyway, let me get that back on, and I'll go over some of the other stuff before we go out back and start it up and let you hear it run. Okay, so as I showed you guys already, this is obviously the choke lever here. Pretty easy to use. Pretty standard stuff. You have your indicator light here, so when this comes on, you've got, this panel is live. And another thing I actually like about this that some of the inverter generators don't have, maybe someone can explain to me why other than cost, but it actually has breakers which you can reset without shutting the generator off, whereas some of your inverter generators, not all of them, some of them, require you to shut the engine off to reset it if you do trip a breaker, which I don't know if that's a safety thing, but I do prefer these, because if it's just a quick, you overload it and whoops, whatever, you just hit the button and you're good to go. We'll go over here. Let me spin it around. So of course you got your pull start here. Now, just like on the Harbor Freight, you do have a plastic pawl that comes out. As you can see, it sort of interfaces right there. So, that is going to be a weak point. I'm not going to lie. But from what I can tell, the finishing on that already is a lot better than on the Harbor Freight. So hopefully it's going to last a little longer. And of course, when you're going to pull, you always wait for it to engage first and then pull, so you're not getting that impact force in that piece of plastic. Now, would I like to have seen that be metal? Of course, all right, or reinforced plastic, sure, but that's all you got. Another thing is, this is rated for good emissions or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a generator. But it is carb approved, from what I understand, so there's that. Now you have a fuel shutoff, which especially on a cheap generator like this, I love. I know a lot of them come with this, but it's an important thing. And it allows you to basically run the engine completely out of fuel, and with that, basically you turn this off, and then when the engine's running, and then you wait for it to die, which can actually take, for me, I've noticed it takes up to 3 minutes, just because there's a lot of fuel in the line and in the carburetor, and so it takes a while. But what it does is you'll run the carburetor completely dry, so everything's dried out, no fuel, or at most minimal fuel. And so basically you avoid gumming up the carburetor. You avoid getting all those passages clogged up. And, while rebuilding these carburetors is not a huge pain in the ass, and there are parts online, nobody wants to do that if you don't have to, right? So that's a plus. Plus it preserves your rubber fuel line here, which will degrade if there's fuel just sitting in it, which is nice. Now also, this fuel line is a lot better than on the Harbor Freight one. You can squeeze it, it rebounds nice, it doesn't feel like it's creasing. But I'd still replace this if you're really being anal about long-term running for this thing. And last thing here we'll go over is the spark plug boot, which is Also much more improved over the Harbor Freight. It seems much more sturdy. When you pull it off, it doesn't fall apart, like on a lot of the Harbor Freights that I've seen. And then of course you got a standard muffler here, which is pretty standard, and you got a heat shield. And that's pretty much it. And of course in your fuel tank here, underneath this cap, there's a screen, and your oil fill cup is built into the cap. So for obviously a 2-stroke engine, you're going to mix that 2-stroke oil in here. And I use somewhere around like 45 to 1 as opposed to 50 to 1. Just because, you know, a little bit more oil is not going to be a bad thing for this engine. And actually, you know, too much oil can also be bad, but 45 to 1 seems like a nice compromise, since some of these older ones seem to have a sticker that says 40 to 1, and then the new ones all stay 50 to 1. I found that middle ground right there. And there you go. So you got your measuring cap and all that stuff. So yeah, let's go outside and give her a cold start here, and we'll show you what she sounds like. Alright, I'm here in my backyard, guys, but oh, perfect timing. I was just gonna say I gotta wait for the compressor to shut off. Alright guys, so here we are in the backyard, and move that hose out of the way. I'm gonna set it up. We're about 5 feet from the generator. Now keep in mind, this is not on grass. If you were to set this thing up on grass, it'd be much quieter, obviously. So we're on a concrete surface here. So go ahead, hit that choke, turn our fuel valve on to on, hit the on switch, give it a couple pulls to get the fuel into the carb. There she is idling. Now obviously that's pretty loud, but I can still talk to you and I have sensitive hearing. And if I stand just a few more feet back, it's not uncomfortable for me, and I have sensitive hearing. They say on the box at idle it's about 61 decibels. I can believe that. It's kind of like a, I don't know, a loud dude in a bar. So maybe 61 decibels would be that. And all things considered, for the price you pay, it's definitely not exorbitantly loud. Extremely loud. So that's pretty good. So there it is running. And you know, shut off's pretty easy. And there it is. So I mean, it's pretty quiet, and especially if you got grass or something you can put it behind in your house, so that if you don't want to hear it in the house, it's definitely pretty good. And then once the engine's warm too, it's not obviously going to be as smoky. So there's that. But yeah, it starts and runs great, easy to maintain. And if you just need something that is a standby generator, I guess not as like an actual, the term standby generator would refer to a dedicated generator that sits outside your house and in an enclosure and it has automatic transfer and all that. That's not what I mean. I just mean as a generator for, here and there purposes and occasional power outage just to charge basic stuff and maybe run a small fridge and TV and all that. Yeah, this will be great, because you don't want to have to pay to play in the big generator game, right? And you probably don't need that much power. This will do it. I didn't know what to expect. I bought this at Kmart on Black Friday, and I think when I got on Black Friday it was less than 90 bucks. It was definitely less than 100 bucks. And I think the normal price at Kmart is $200, which is ridiculous for something like this. But for what we paid, this is pretty good. And it's actually better than the Harbor Freight, like I said, because you've got higher starting watts and higher running watts. And you've got a slightly larger engine, and the build quality just seems a little bit better. Even though it's the same design and all that stuff, it just seems slightly better. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'll probably do a video once I finish breaking this thing in, because I've only run it probably about 5 hours. So I'm going to do a few more things, a few more loads on here to break it in, and then I guess I'll give you a full review, but so far so good.